Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we have the opportunity to learn and grow together. Our session here is working with our NGLA partners and Fired Up here to focus on from interest to commitment, building a sustainable names list for dynamic recruitment. So dynamic recruitment is at Fired Up, it's absolutely one of our core philosophies. We believe that recruitment shouldn't be stagnant. It shouldn't be just vanilla. We should have a lot more. There should be dynamic. It should be exciting to be a part of. And so we believe in dynamic recruitment, and we want to create a sustainable way for your names list to consistently be just that, dynamic. Now, here at Fired Up, we help fraternities and sororities grow, and we're happy to partner here with NGLA to bring you this live virtual session as well. And so there's a comments section. I would love to be able to see some comments as well from anyone who wants to connect in that comments area. So feel free to comment and engage with this presentation and just learn more from us in a different way. So anyway, we help fraternities and sororities grow. We get to travel the country. We get to do virtual sessions like this, conferences, direct to chapters and direct to campuses. And we truly believe that fraternities and sororities can change the world. And so we're excited to be a part of that, and a group of like-minded people can make that impact. And so I want to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Jason Davis. I've worked at Fired Up here for about 3.5, 4 years now, and I've had the opportunity to work with chapters from across the country. And one of my favorite values that we have at Fired Up is that quantity drives quality. We have 5 core philosophies, and this is one of the big ones that kind of build our session around today, is that quantity drives quality. We believe that if more people know about us, if more people are interested in our organizations, if more people can get connected to us, and we can get connected to more people, and we can reach out to more people, we can meet more people in more places, in more spaces, then we'll be able to find higher quality members to be part of our organizations. Now, we all want quality, and I've actually heard in a lot of spaces that we want quality over quantity, and I believe that we want quality. I just think that, man, if we had 20 people to pick from, if we wanted 10 and we had to pick from 20, I don't know if we're going to find the best quality. Now, if we still wanted 10, but we got to pick from 100 people, we got to pick from 1,000 people, we'd have a better chance at finding quality 10 people. And so we believe that quantity drives that quality that we're looking for in our organizations. And so, like I said earlier, my name is Jason Davis. I'm a growth consultant here. Here's my social media, my email. Would love to be able to connect at any point as we continue to help fraternities and sororities grow and continue to work with NGLA. I'll actually be in person with NGLA here towards the end of February. And so excited to see a lot of people in person, and excited to be able to connect with a lot of you virtually through this programming as well. My story around this consistent names list is I was a founding member, if you will, one of the establishing members of a new organization on campus. I went to Boise State University, and I had the opportunity to create names lists where they didn't exist before. There's a bunch of people from different walks of campus who said, hey, we didn't like what currently exists. We want to do something different. And there was a new establishing organization who was trying to create an interest group on campus. And so I became part of that interest group, and we worked together. We were figuring out best leadership roles, spaces to exist in, and gosh, those people became, and there still are, some of those phenomenal human beings I have for the rest of my life. And I'm thankful for that experience. And while we were in undergrad, we had to keep creating names, places, and spaces where we weren't getting names from before. Because as the fraternity and sorority community grew, people were getting names from different names lists. And so not only do we need certain names lists that are pipelines that are consistent, we also need to be fresh in our names list to meet new people in different spaces. We needed to be self-aware enough to find out where those names, what people in our organization we didn't currently have on our names list, and what places on campus we didn't currently know people, so that we could go to those places. And so I want you to write down, and actually, it would be silly for you to be here and not take notes. And so I would hope that you have some place to write notes down and some way to keep a track of some of the conversations we're happening here today. So I'd love for you to take some time, actually pause for a moment, and take some time for you to write down what are 3 to 5 of your most important pipelines for your organization. So we're thinking, are we tabling on campus? Maybe it's from our residence halls. Maybe it's from a high school that we went to or some of our members went to. Maybe it's from our major, and maybe we're recruiting specifically from our majors. Maybe it's a culturally based club on campus that we're getting a lot of our potential interest from. Maybe it's just a restaurant that's near campus that we always go to, and we keep seeing people at that same restaurant that we go to. And maybe it's really great to be active in that community. Some more names. So think of those different pipelines and those different ways that we're getting some names. So write those down. If you have a chance, there should be a chat option as well. I would love for you all to engage in the chat in any way. If you wanted to write comments or connect in the chat to share some of those pipelines that you might have. And so we want you to have as many robust pipelines as possible so that they're coming in from different spaces. I also wanted to share some ideas of some of those pipelines. Like I said, those clubs and orgs. Maybe there's a tabling fair for your clubs and orgs on campus. But I wanted to break down like what a pipeline is. And so a pipeline is, if you go ahead and scan this QR code and kind of help learn more, there's going to be a lot of QR codes throughout this. And so feel free to scan at any point. But our pipelines, they're our biggest names drivers. Their pipelines are those places where we can go back and water's consistently flowing through those places, right? And so where can you go back to on campus where I know this hits every single time I'm in this space? I know we can get new members from this pipeline. I know that if we table at orientation, we get a lot of names in that place. I know if we co-host an event with this organization, we get a lot of names when we do that. And so finding those pipelines and what that means for consistency for your organization. So generating those pipelines, finding those pipelines, and what fits that best for your organization. Perfect. In those pipelines, I also wanted to make sure that we had different ways to drive names. Now, a lot of you, besides your pipelines, there are different ways to drive names for our organizations. I wanted to give you all 60 different ways to drive names into your organization. So go ahead and scan this one for me as well. There's about 60 different ideas in here. That's different ways to table. That's different ways to have activities going on. There's my favorite one in here. You'll scroll through, you'll see some funny ones in there. One of my favorite ones is rock, paper, scissors tabling. And so we'll be tabling and you play rock, paper, scissors with someone. And if you win, you break this down for them ahead of time. If you win, you get to have something off this table. And maybe you have something fun on this table that they can grab. Maybe it's a piece of candy. Maybe it's something on that table that they can grab. But if I win, you give me 2 minutes and we get to chat for 2 minutes. And I promise, whether you win or lose, it creates a fun interaction between two people. They get a piece of candy either way, right? And honestly, they usually give you 2 minutes either way. And so figuring out those fun ways to engage at tables. Other names drivers are partnering with other clubs, getting referrals from some of the fraternities or sororities on campus, getting referrals from clubs and orgs, especially if they really believe in your organization, what they have to offer. Maybe it's in unique places to put up flyers on campus. Maybe it's running ads on marketing and social media virtually, different campaigns, digital reader boards on campus. And so again, as many pipelines as possible, we want names to flood into your chapters and flood into our organizations. Now, I want you to think about a shape for a moment. Think about all your shapes. Now, if you had a whole bunch of something, a whole bunch of leads, and you needed to put those into a more narrow list. So you get a whole bunch of something and you need to put it into a more narrow concept. What shape might you use? I want you to think about that. What shape might you use to take a whole lot of something and put it into something more narrow, right? Maybe it's water, maybe it's rice, maybe it's oil. You take a whole lot of something. And that thing that we're going to use is going to be a funnel. We're going to funnel names into our organization. And now that funnel looks a lot like this, because we believe that once pipelines and names enter your funnel, the first thing, the very, very first thing that we should be doing with any human being that we get into contact with is we should have a conversation. And that's a real conversation. That's not inviting them to an event. That's not telling them to swing by the house. That's not introducing them. That's not telling them to come to an informational. That's actually having a real conversation with a real human being and building some sort of relationship with them. Now, after that conversation, now we move more into an activity of some sort. That activity can look like going to an event on campus, connecting with more folks. We're going to get into maybe what more of those activities look like. And then we have events. And so our events can be bigger. The responsibility of our events is for them to meet multiple members of our organization, maybe even some of our alumni as well. You'll notice a little filter on there. All of our organizations, we should have some sort of filter to make sure, because not everyone's a good fit for our organization. We know that. Some people get filtered out, and some people enter our process, maybe go through intake, and end up in our organization. And so the letters that we use to indicate where someone is in our process, we use 4 simple letters. We use D, C, B, and A. Now, as we use those letters, D, C, B, and A, I want you to think of your current leads list and kind of put those people in the category. Where are they on our funnel? And I want to kind of give you a way to put those people into a category right now. And so if this was your recruitment team, imagine you all huddling together around a table, deciding on the future of your organization. It might look like this. Your D, C, B, and A names list. D is just a name on a names list. If someone is a stranger, they are not on your names list. And so getting a stranger to become a name on your names list is a D. If someone is a D on your names list and you want to move them to a C, that makes them an acquaintance. And we need more acquaintances. So are they a potential new member or are they a name on a names list? Are they a potential new member? Are they an acquaintance? Where are they on our list? Because we use potential interests and potential new members, and we use those terms so vaguely. I want us to actually break down where they are in that process with us. And so here's how we're able to do that. And so D, C, B, A, and A+. Now, we move through our names list, D, C, B, A, and A+, and now I want to break down how to get people through that funnel. So D to C, C to B, B to A, and then into membership. So if we're just going from D to C first, this is how I want us to look. Now, again, more QR codes, my friends. I want to give you as much as possible. I want you to be able to leave here and say, this is how we're going to make consistent names lists be real for us. And so D to C, again, these are names on a names list to people we want to make acquaintances. Well, we should probably do something in life together, right? And so what are some of those small activities? Are we going to a basketball game together? Are we doing a craft night together? Are we getting boba together? What is that thing that we can do together with some can we study together? Is there a class that we need to study for? While we're doing that, we can get to know each other. Are we going for a walk together? Hit the gym together? What is that thing that we can do together? Now, those can be virtually as well. I have some people who are playing video games together and they get to communicate that way. Maybe they're watching video games together. I got some of my people who get to watch video games. They enjoy watching that together. We got the Pro Bowl on Sunday, the Super Bowl after that. Maybe we're doing that together. What are some of these smaller interactions we can have with someone? And then that in between is so important. That in between is thank you for showing up. It was great to see you there. It's, hey, I found this funny TikTok that I want to send you, and you send it. Instagram reel. I want to forward you this page of this guy that we were talking about earlier. Like, I want that in between to be very real. That's how you create friendships. That's how you create bonds between people, is those in between conversations. Now, that fourth area, active and conversational social media. That is a great way to keep people that you first met engaged. If someone follows you on social media, they're expecting, and you're expecting, they're expecting to see more content. I don't follow people that post once a year or once every 4 years. I don't need that content or that follower count. You know what I mean? If I'm going to follow your page, or I'm going to follow you as a person, I need some content. I need to hear about your life. I need to know what you got going on. It's the same thing with our organizations. Our organizations, we got a lot going on. We at least have chapter once a week, right? We're doing things in the community. We're doing things with our friends and our organizations, our brothers and sisters and siblings. Let's post that stuff. Let's share that stuff. And let's connect more people into that stuff. Again, D to C, some small activities, virtual, maybe physical events, not big ones, just little small ones that we go to together. Maybe our student activities board is putting them on, things like that. And then our in-betweens, connecting with folks, and then activities on social media. Cool. That's taking our D to C. Now, getting a little serious. We got some acquaintances. We got some names that have turned into acquaintances. Now we know some people. I got my friends of list, right? My friends of my organization. And they've started to add up and they see us. They kind of know a couple of us, not just one or two. They know more of us now. They don't know the whole organization yet. They just know a couple of us. Now I want us to now get to that B, where we get to be more intimate, if you will, more connected to us. And that's going to look a lot like maybe some bigger events that we might put on. They're going to be way more conversation. And I want to be able to dive into conversations and how to have better conversations, because this C to B category I feel is crucial, because we might just kind of know of people or know people. I'm Cuban American. There's 2 words in Spanish for knowing. You can know of someone, or you can really know something. And so I want for a lot of you to think about, do you just know of somebody, or do you actually know somebody? And so when you're building these relationships, the C to B pipeline, and you're building these conversations and asking better questions, what are some better questions you can ask to get to know somebody on a deeper level? I know a lot of my informationals are also built in a way where we get to meet a lot of the people in that space, and they're not only learning a lot about our organization, we're actually getting to meet them in that space together. And so again, keeping a lot of our organizations, a lot of different type of C to B categories in mind. And so I do want to break down what those curious conversations look like, because I do think that that C to B is when we choose to be curious. And gosh, this is such an important part of this process, because some, not going to put it out there, some of our organizations are recruiting on vibes. They're just saying they're a great fit. We like them. They're a cool person. Invite them in. Some of our organizations, if they fill out all the paperwork and they do everything in the right order and they don't sound suspicious, they get a bid. Some of our organizations, or they get an invitation to join. Some of our organizations are willing to put anyone into a process, and then we figure out whether they join or not. And so I really want this C to B category to sit here, and I want you to be curious. I want you to sit down with another human being and really learn more about who they are and what they look like and what their life looks like. And by diving in like that, I want questions beyond name, major, hometown, where do you live on campus? I want some deeper questions. And so you actually come up with a list for your chapter that help you ask deeper questions. What are those questions going to be where you can dive in deeper with some of your potential interests? And so it's how, when, why. Talk to me about a time when, things like that. And so we need to dive into those questions. So take a moment. I want you to write down some of those questions for yourself, for your chapter, that you can actually encourage your chapter members to ask. And so tell me a time when you had to make a tough decision. Dang, that's going to be a great way to get to know somebody a bit better, right? How about, how did you decide to go to this institution? When did you think that engineering was going to be the major that you were going to decide on? When you're asking why questions, make sure your why questions aren't judgmental, but truly curious. Not why did you choose that outfit, but like, why do you choose to thrift shop versus maybe buy from Shein, whatever that might be. Some of our questions, and put those in there. I want you to have better questions and dive in deeper with your questions and choose to be genuinely and authentically curious with any of your potential new members or potential interests in your organization. So tell me more. Talk to me about a time when. Yeah. I mean, depending on what their year is in school, I have a couple examples of maybe those questions. So feel free to use these or not, just want to give you some more examples of what those could look like. Tell me about your favorite hangout spot in your hometown, right? Instead of just asking them where their hometown is, how about their favorite hangout spot in their hometown? Lets you dive in a little bit deeper about maybe some hobbies that they enjoyed. Maybe they're excited about some parts about their hometown. Maybe this campus is in their hometown and actually the campus was one of their favorite parts about their hometown. Maybe it's a hangout spot that's close enough away that you guys get to go visit together at some point. What's your favorite part about your major? Maybe are there any cool classes that you're taking right now that you're excited about? How did you decide that major is the best for you? Now, if they're part of another club or organization on campus, it gives you the opportunity to say, how did you become a member of that org? Or are there any other clubs and organizations on campus you're looking to get interested in, right? We want involved members in our chapters, and we want them to be involved in other places as well. And so asking them, are there other classes or other clubs they're looking to get involved in? Oh, the biology club? Perfect. I actually know somebody in the biology club, and I can get the two of you connected. They happen to be a member of our organization, right? And we get them connected to that biology club. And through us, now we become guides. We get to become ambassadors of campus and help people get connected in that way because we chose to be curious. Now, this is always an interesting one to me. Tell me about the first couple of people that you've met on campus. Because those first couple of people, I don't know about you, for me, those first couple of people I got to meet on campus changed what I thought about campus in general. I went to college, again, from Las Vegas. I went to Boise State University. I was very far away from home, long distance away from the opposite side of the country from probably a lot of you watching this today. And when I didn't know how many different people went to college, I didn't know how many responsibilities there were for students. I didn't know that there were orientation leaders that were students. I thought those were all like staff members that worked there. I didn't know they were also students. And so I got to meet an orientation leader that was the same major as me. I was like, that's so cool. And he was like, yeah, I can connect you to other people with the same major. I go, that's phenomenal. I need to know more people that are in my same major, and I'm not getting the faculty and staff version of my major. I'm actually getting the student lived experience. And so these orientation leaders introduced me to some of their friends that were also engineering majors, and come to find out that actually they were all in a fraternity together, right? It's like fun to find out that these people not only were the same major, they also were connected in the same club or organization on campus that I was unfamiliar existed. Again, didn't have any idea what a fraternity was before I went to college. And so other organizations I was looking to be a part of, I was like, engineering club. First couple of people I got to meet on campus were engineering people. So tell me about the first couple of people you got to meet on campus. Really says a lot. Maybe it was an RA, maybe it was an orientation leader, admissions counselors, right? And maybe it was someone who came for a visit day and got to visit their high school. Maybe it was their roommate. And maybe it's that weird part where you like get introduced to your roommates, but like some family members are still there with you and it's that weird interaction. Like, tell me about that experience. You need to learn more about them. And then I love this one, especially if you're following each other on social media, or you can, a lot of us will like just connect with people on Instagram before we even get their phone number. I was working with an organization at one point and I said, hey, put us all in a group chat. And they didn't have everyone's phone number. So like whatever that might look like, if you're following each other on Instagram, hey, saw that you posted that on Instagram the other day, where was that at? Or tell me more about that thing that you posted. And so you get to learn more about folks and just another way to be curious with any potential interest in any setting you might be in. So again, choosing to be curious. And that's really that B to C in that timeline. So now we have B's. Mutual interest. We like them. They like us. They've met a lot of our folks. Maybe they met, I mean, not a lot, but they met quite a bit of our folks. I want there to be this next layer. If there was an opportunity to build more rapport, if there's an opportunity to maybe even offer an invitation to our org, maybe it was an application they need to fill out, maybe some rapport that we need to build. I also want to make sure they're a good fit. So there's a category of like fit that needs to be in here as well. And so how are you measuring that? Is it they're meeting enough people? Do you have, we like to say that there's 5 stars that every potential interest should have before they get an invitation, a bid, and fill out an application to join our organizations. And so in that B to A category, we want to make sure that they fit all of those things. Now, in that curiosity, we're answering in their questions, any of their hesitations. I do need us to do something that we call the pre-close. And now in our pre-close, we want to be able to really understand more about what that person is looking for in membership, more of what that person is going to add value to in our organization. And we really want to break that down in that space. And so when I think of 5 stars, I would like you to actually, while you're taking notes, or while we're taking notes, I'd love you to also take notes on the 5 stars that you need in your organization to make sure that someone could receive an application or could receive a bid or could move forward in your process by any means. And so go ahead and write down those 5 stars for yourselves. So maybe I'll throw some ones out there for you. Maybe scholarship is one of those. Like, you need to make sure that they have the grades, right? Academics would be important. And so if one of those 5 stars is academics, maybe it's a certain GPA. Maybe it's a 3.0 required, or 3.5 even. GPA requirement to move through our process. If you need a 3.0, well, what else do they need? So 3.0, that's one objective evidence that's very cut and dry, that's very clear that they need that. Now, how do we continue to make sure that there's another indicator that's important? Maybe interest driven, maybe driven might be another one of those categories. Maybe somebody wrote driven down. I need driven. I know that was important for my organization when we started. We needed some really driven individuals, folks who really wanted to put some work in to get this organization off the ground. Especially, we had no Nameslist, we had no alumni in the area. We didn't really have a way to build a reputation. And so we needed some driven individuals who could really make a difference. And that's not just true for startups. I'm sure a lot of your groups, whether you've been around for 10 years or 100 years or more than that even, you need some driven individuals to go into the future. And so making sure of driven. Now, what's that objective evidence that someone is driven? Had they have Do they have to have some sort of experience? For us, we needed someone who has been a leader in other spaces on campus and actually looking to, gosh, I know a driven individual is someone who wants a specific career. Like they're not kind of, respectfully, they're not like undecided. They kind of know what they're wanting, or they're going to, if they are undecided, they're going to do whatever it takes to figure out what that major is going to be and what that career aspiration is going to be. And they're very driven to find out that answer. Maybe there's a big problem that they want to solve and they're very driven to find out the solution to that problem. Maybe they volunteer and they're really driven to support a specific industry or support a specific cause. And so finding out what that makes those 5 stars and what's the objective evidence. Now, I would go back to your chapters as well and find out what those 5 stars are for your individual chapters. And so D, C, B. Now, again, they've made it through your filter. They're in those 5 stars. And now it's time to maybe offer them an invitation. Now, I truly believe whether you're going to be proposed to, someone's going to propose to you, or in this world of offering a gift of membership, we want to make sure that it's 100% acceptance on that invitation to membership. There should be a 100% chance that someone is going to accept that invitation. And because you and your organization has done a good enough job to be curious, to be authentic, to be vulnerable even, with any of our potential interests, and that you get 100% acceptance on any invitations or applications that you put out, because you've done all the work ahead of time to make sure that that happens. So the way that I like to ask this question is on a scale from 1 to 10, how interested are you in your organization? And whatever range they give you. Now, they might give you a 7. For me, they asked me how interested I was. I was super interested. I just didn't have the money. My parents had no idea what I was doing. There's no way that I was going to be able to say yes to a bid or an invitation, but I was super interested. And so I'll even tell you the story of, I called my mom to ask her about being in a fraternity, and she was like, "Oh, let me Google fraternities." And I was like, no, don't Google it, right? Like Googling fraternity might be kind of a mixed audience sometimes. And so I wanted to make sure that if we're all the information that she got to meet some of the people, I sent her specifically to the parents link on our website, could change languages on there as well. And I wanted there to be an opportunity for her to learn more about fraternity and what it offered, and her to trust that her son was making a really good decision. And we came to that conclusion, but still wasn't willing to give me the money for it. So I needed to figure out a way to pay for that experience. Well, the men in my organization helped me get a job at the front desk of the residence hall that I lived at, making $7.25 an hour, but it helped me pay for my dues. And so I worked with the treasurer to get that $7.25 and pick up some shifts. And it really worked out because that $7.25 and that job actually got me a job working in housing for the next 4 years and helped pay for housing. And it was a great story, but it really was this pre-closed timeline. This situation is what secures that yes. And so asking those questions on a scale from 1 to 10, how interested are you? And addressing each one of those hesitations individually. Your parents are concerned, that is valid. You're worried about academics, that is valid. You're worried about being hazed, that's valid. Your concerns are valid, and I want you to validate anyone's concerns. Now, next thing is I want you to isolate those concerns. Not just validate them, but isolate them individually. Because it might be money and parents. It might be parents and hazing. It might be finances and time commitment, right? And so making sure that you're isolating each one of those for that potential interest, potential new member. Isolate each one of those. And then I want you to address them individually. Parents, what can we be doing to address the concerns about parents, right? Can we connect them to certain current parents of our members? Does your national or international organization offer a parents page to learn more as a parent or a concerned parent? Can you connect them to any of your alumni or advisors, alumni advisors, that they might be able to speak about the organization? And so addressing that parent's hesitation, validating their concern, isolating that concern. And then I want you to set a timeline for when are they going to talk to their parents again or their family members again to help them make that decision. If it's finances, valid concern. It costs money to be in all of our organizations. It costs money at different times of membership. Sometimes it changes over the course of membership. And so being very transparent with the finances of how much it costs, what they get in return for some of those spaces, where that goes, how we pool some of that together, and breaking that down is a huge part of that process. So some financial literacy there. Now, we use the word financial literacy in our fraternity and sorority industry often to refer to us being financially transparent and financial transparency. In our industry, we use financial transparency. I want to talk more about financial literacy. I truly believe that we're missing some people in our community who think they can't afford membership because truly we're not helping them with financial literacy. I had no idea what APR was on a credit card until after I graduated from college. Like I didn't even know it through college. I didn't know what a credit card or APR on a credit card was. I think we're truly doing a disservice to someone who says, I can't afford this. And then we tell them, oh, don't worry, we have scholarships. Oh, we could crowdfund for you. Like, let's actually help them figure out a budget. Let's help them figure out, if they can't figure out how money works, like, let's help them with that first. And let's put membership aside for a moment and really just build rapport with them and help them figure out their money situation. And maybe we actually bring in a speaker, or maybe we're actually having someone teach on that for our organization. And so we can actually bring them to that space. Maybe we connect them to our treasurer, and our treasurer actually sits down with them in a budget and figures out how we can make this work. And so, like, what are those different, think for yourself, for your organizations, what are those hesitations? How can we address those hesitations as an organization? Who would be best fit, right? So picking someone's family member or parent who'd be great, figuring out who's that best person to talk about financial transparency. Maybe if there's a house for some of us, maybe that's part of the conversation is housing and where do people live for some of our organizations. And so, what maybe for some of our organizations, I was just on this call last night, honestly, for some of our organizations, what's the difference between this group and a different culturally based group on campus? And that can be heavy sometimes, right? Especially while some of our culturally based groups on campus, like our not our Greek lettered groups, but our Latino Student Association, our Asian Student Association, like some of them have bigs and littles, and some of them have social events that they put on, and some of them have dues even. And so how do we articulate the difference between these organizations and the value proposition we add? I know I'm throwing a lot into this area, but this is where those hard conversations happen. And this is that make or break between a potential membership into our organizations. So really think about what value add. Because when people say they can't afford to be in our organization, sometimes they're also saying it's not worth it. If they're saying they don't have enough time to be in our organization, sometimes they're saying it's not worth it. And so how can we make sure that this is now our responsibility, and we're not getting defensive, but we're working with them to find the value add to their life? What are they looking for in life? What does our organization offer that can add value to their life? Again, 100% acceptance is that goal. I would hate for any of you to spend all this time, money, effort, energy on all of your potential interests, your potential new members working year-round for this, and then get to this moment and they don't accept. And so making sure we're really securing this part and securing this timeline. This next area I want to dive into is new member. And I know this A plus and new member or Neo timeline is very different for everyone. So I'm kind of just going a generic newest member to our organization, kind of going big picture here. And so for Neos or their newest members, people do end up leaving our organization. Now, we've done some research and we've asked, why do people leave or disengage with our organization? And we've come up with these 3 reasons about how folks have decided to disengage with our organizations. So this misaligned expectations is, we promised them something and they didn't really get that. And so we've promised them, they didn't know how much time it would take. Well, why weren't we clear? They didn't know how much it would cost. Well, why weren't we clear? They said they were going to get all these friends in this community, but now they're in a group chat and no one wants to grab lunch with them, right? And so what are some of these misaligned expectations? Sometimes there's a lack of connection that exists. And that might happen over time, right? There's the big frills of maybe a bid day of some sort, and they got to welcome all these people in, but then now there's nothing afterwards, and all the matching shirts are gone. And now maybe there's like individual meetings, hopefully, right? Actually, to help with your lack of connection, I would really hope that the individual connections that exist right afterwards, and they're not having to wait a whole week for chapter, that there's actually time immediately following that big event for them that they actually get connected. After a new member presentation, I would hope that right afterwards that they feel cared for, they feel loved. But then what do we do right afterwards besides putting them to work? What do we do right afterwards instead of actually caring with them? Do we introduce them to some more people, build more bonds with them on campus and relationships on campus, and introduce them to more people who care about them? And so more connections that exist. And that last one is drama or discord. And so it's why people might disconnect from our organization. And drama is a lot of different ways. Drama could look a lot like, gosh, just someone ran for a position and didn't get it. Because right now, we're sitting in a time of year where some of us just had officer transitions maybe a month and a half ago. Some of us, it's been 6 months since our officer transition. And so for those of us who have transitioned officers, the people who didn't get that role, do we still talk to them? Are they still on a committee for us? Are they working with us? Other sort of drama that might exist is, who we're hanging out with and who we're socializing with, who we're not socializing with, who we shouldn't be. Whatever that sort of drama looks like. So thinking of these and why people quit, there's some ideas, right, when it comes to actually creating sustainable names lists. I want you to make sure that we're addressing these hesitations and then making sure that we're following through during our membership. Because when people quit, this negatively impacts. This is what makes some of our names lists not sustainable anymore, is because if they come onto this names list and they make it through our process and then they're join our organization and now they leave, because on average, friends, we lose about 20% of our membership. From accepting membership to graduation, we lose about 20%. And those people are going right back into your names list. And they're like, don't join this organization. This was a negative experience. I hated this. They're out here on Yik Yak and Greek. They're out here on all these spaces, right? And so how do we make sure that we sustain our people and stop people from quitting our organization, disengaging with our organization, to help sustain our names list? And so from an interest to committed, and then locking in a lot of that commitment through this process here, making sure, again, keeping those people engaged, keeping those people locked in, and keeping them fired up, right? And to keep these folks fired up. Now, friends, we've had about 45 minutes together to learn about consistently sustaining your organization. And I want to make sure that, actually, I want to pull this funnel back on the screen real quick. I'm going to dive back through that. keeping this in mind for your sustainable names list. People are coming through DCBA. You're adding more names in the top of your pipelines, and you're having conversations with new people. Your active members are bringing in new people, but you're still having a conversation. Each individual, just because someone's a friend of a friend, doesn't always make them the best fit for our organization. And so really breaking down those individually and keeping that sustainable. Keep adding names. Now, we also recommend, I'd be remiss not to mention that there's technology that we would recommend as well to keep those names lists consistent. And that's a technology called Chapter Builder that we work a lot with. And so that on Chapter Builder, you keep track of your names list somewhere consistent. And so that's free for anyone who wants to use it. But any way that you have names lists, whether it's on a piece of paper doesn't seem sustainable in a lot of ways, but maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet that gets shared on an organizational account. Because again, sustainability means it lasts forever. And we can consistently go after it and use it year after year, semester after semester. And to have a sustainable names list means that everyone has access to it. You can add notes. You can move people, D, C, B, and A. People can comment on those folks. And so making sure that your organization keeps some names list, it's consistent and constantly driving names to your organization. So Chapter Builder is one of those places that you can have a constant names list and a constant flow of potential new members, potential interests added that you can keep track of in any organization. And I want to leave you all with today. So again, sustainable names list, constant names driving, making sure that people don't quit so we retain that 20% that disengage. Thank you all for being able to attend today in this organization, this opportunity that we've had to collaborate with NGLA, getting interests to committed members and building sustainable names lists in a dynamic way. Thank you all for coming out today. Have a great rest of your day and stay fired up. Thank you all so much.